Think biofuels are green? The hidden truth reveals they may be pumping more carbon into our atmosphere than they save. Biofuels are fuels that are derived from biomatter. They can be produced from plants or from agricultural, domestic, or industrial biowaste. The two most common types of biofuels in use today are ethanol and biodiesel. They are examples of first-generation biofuels as they are obtained from food crops such as corn and soy. Biofuels seem like the perfect solution to a global oil dependency and increasing greenhouse gas emissions. Biofuel production creates jobs and boosts local economies. In theory, biofuels should be a carbon-neutral alternative to fossil fuels. It closes the circle. The carbon produced through the burning of biofuels is absorbed by the crops as they regrow. But is this really true? The global demand for biofuel has increased greatly in the last 20 years. This increased demand has made biofuel more profitable than food production. Due to this increased demand for crops, fewer croplands have been retired, meaning that less carbon has been stored in the soil and plants. Altogether, the changes in cropland use caused by biofuel demand added an estimated total of 400 million metric tons of CO2 to the atmosphere between 2008 and 2016. In addition to not being carbon neutral, carbon dioxide is not the only harmful byproduct of biofuel use and production. An increase in corn cultivation for biofuels production causes an increase in nitrate concentrations in both surface and groundwater resources. A 2010 study predicted that water treatment processes would require a 2,100% increase in energy requirements in nitrate-affected areas in order to mitigate nitrate contaminant. So this results in a vicious cycle wherein the more biofuel that is produced, the more energy that will be required to treat nitrate-contaminated waters. With that in mind, how does biofuel stack up against other energy sources? When compared to fossil fuels, biofuels do emit less CO2, however biofuels have a lower energy density, meaning that vehicles will need larger fuel tanks to achieve the same mileage. When biofuels are compared to wind and solar energy, the dream of biomass as a practical fuel source begins to die. Solar and wind produce virtually no carbon emissions. The only carbon they emit is when they are being manufactured and transported. They also don't require nearly as much land. You might notice a trend here in that corn and other first-generation biofuels are not an ideal option. If biofuels are to be seriously considered, either the cultivation methods or effectiveness of corn and other first-generation biofuels must be improved, or we should move towards the more efficient biofuel sources in the latter generations, such as cellulosic or algae-based biofuels. Biofuel production often emits more carbon than they save, driven by a profit-focused industry that prioritizes gain over true sustainability. It's time to redirect our efforts towards genuinely renewable energy sources like solar and wind that can meaningfully reduce greenhouse gas emissions and combat climate change.